city of Mumbai.
Here in New Delhi, I'll ask my camera person to pan and show you.
In the streets, especially in the city of Mumbai.
Here in New Delhi, I'll ask my camera person to pan and show you that there are many Dalit, many of the protestees who have now come here, and there are talks going on with regards to what should be the next step.
समाज के अंदर गुस्सा हुआ है कि राजनीतिक पार्टियां तो हमारे से खिलवाड़ कर रही है, संविधान के साथ खिलवाड़ कर रही है, हमारे अधिकार के साथ खिलवाड़ कर रही है, और अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट उसमें कूद गया है हमको खिलवाड़ करने के लिए।
ये जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय आया है, बड़े आदर के साथ हम कहना चाहते हैं, उस निर्णय के निष्कर्ष से और उस निर्णय के तर्कों से हम असहमत हैं।
भारत बंद है, ये इसी का कारण है कि हम लोगों ने शुरुआत की और हमने ये उन करोड़ों दलितों की आवाज को राष्ट्रपति महोदय तक पहुंचाया।
There was anger across the country today, as we saw in several states. Public and private property was damaged. 7 people have died as there was a very violent protest against a Supreme Court order that was believed to harm the rights of the Dalits in India. Now, while no one can take away your fundamental right to protest in this country, you are required to protest peacefully. On one side of your screen, viewers, are 30,000 farmers who in Maharashtra marched from Nasik into the heart of the city of Mumbai, completely peacefully, made their point, had all of their demands met with by the government, and then returned home peacefully. They were noticed, they were taken note of, and their demands were met. On the other side of the screen, the protests that erupted today. There are several questions we have to ask about the protests that erupted today. 7 people have been killed. Who let India burn? Is the first question. Very interestingly, we noticed that the protests started at 10 a.m., wrapped up by 6 p.m. in the evening, almost like as if it was a working day. Is this protest really a boiling up of unhappiness in the Dalit population for various other reasons not specific to do with the Supreme Court judgment? And did the police actually stand by and allow this to happen? What happened today? What are the reasons for this protest, and why wasn't it peaceful? Those are the questions we're asking today. Joining me on the show, Balchandra Mungekar is the former Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, Arima Sundaram, Senior Advocate with the Supreme Court, Sunil Kadam, RPI activist, Vaibhav Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP, ND Ram, National General Secretary of the SC/ST Employees Welfare Association of BSNL, and Mr. Dhanraj Manjari, former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mumbai. I welcome all of you to this conversation. The question also that we need to ask is, what are we expecting the government to do at this point? I'm going to start with Mr. Balchandra Mungekar. Balchandra Sahab, if you can take us through your reaction to this protest. Do you believe there was enough cause for the kind of protest that we saw? And could the protest have been done in a peaceful manner?
Thank you very much for organizing this discussion on these extremely important issues, which is dealing with the lives and the safety and security of 20 crore scheduled castes and nearly 10 crore scheduled tribes in the country. The recent judgment of the Supreme Court with respect to the Prevention of Atrocities Act has thrown the baby along with the bathwater. It has emphasized, unfortunately, more the misuse of the act rather than the improper and totally unsatisfactory implementation of the untouchability of, that is, the Prevention of the Atrocities Act. Here the question is, it is absolutely unreasonable for a country, even after the 70 years, that we require this kind of act to give the protection to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes from the callous activities and that discrimination and the atrocities against the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. I should tell you without taking much of your time, in 1989, first the act was passed. In 1995, the rules were made, and the implementation started of 1995. 1995 to 2015, if you take into account nearly 20 years, the act was absolutely implemented in very badly. That's why 2015, the parliament, both Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, I was privileged to be a member of the Rajya Sabha, unanimously passed the major amendment to this act without even 1 minute discussion. And within 3 years or 2.5 years, Supreme Court has given the judgment which has totally diluted the act. It has missed the substance and the spirit of the act, and it has given total disprotection to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. The learned judges of the Supreme Court must have emphasized that the act should be implemented properly, and there should not be, we should create India after independence of such kind where Atrocity Prevention Act is not required. Rather than that, whatever protection the act was earlier giving, see, there are 2 acts in the country only where the offences are non-bailable. One in the case of dowry, and second in the case of the atrocities. Now, making the offence non-bailable was the substance and the cornerstone of the act. Now, this has been totally diluted. In case of the ordinary person, what is called the DSP's permission is required. In case of a public servant, his authority is required.
Yes.
Now, the atrocities are made by the upper caste. The DSP will be the upper caste. The superior boss will be the upper caste. Under these conditions, act will not be implemented at all. And that's why there are bound to be protests. This is just the beginning. There are bound to be protests in the country on this act because it is the question of the life and survival of nearly 30 crore scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, around 25% of the total population. And I earnestly request the government, without spending even a moment, they should move the Supreme Court and file appeal for reviewing this act. Otherwise, there will be total chaos in the country. I do not think that the members of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe will be silently suffering this injustice.
But Mr. Mungekar, my question to you is this. The government of India appealed to the Supreme Court this morning at 9 a.m. A copy of that appeal is with me here. It is a long appeal. They have made a very clear appeal to the Supreme Court to reconsider and to hear an appeal in this particular case. Also, and you're right, you are absolutely right about the fact that 20 crores scheduled caste and 10 crores scheduled tribe have every right to protest this particular order, but they have a right before that to appeal to the Supreme Court themselves. Now, where in India do we give anyone the right to brandish guns, to burn public property, to go on a violent rampage? Aren't there better ways to make one's displeasure known?
See, I tell you, I believe in non-violence. I believe in parliamentary democracy and peaceful means. I am a person that whatever agreement may be, whatever the cause of anxiety and the cause of concern may be, I do not justify violence and the destruction of the public property. But let me bring the attention to the people of the country. Very fact that when 450 years of Babri Masjid was demolished by the vandalism, okay, I think that was much more serious because that damaged the total fabric and the basic foundation of the Indian democracy. Please let me make my point clear. Under no condition I will defend or justify even remotely the destruction of the public property by anybody for that matter, not only in this case, but for anybody for that matter. But then basically destroying the cornerstone and the fabric and the essence and substance of the Indian constitution, which secularism is. 2.5 lakh people assemble on 6 December 1992 and they demolish the Babri Masjid of 450 years of existence. That vandalism, according to me, absolutely. This point is much more important and much more serious than, and again I repeat, I appeal to all Dalit sections of the society that whatever their anguish and intensity of their anguish may be, they should not take to violence because Dr. Ambedkar always championed the cause of peaceful means of parliamentary democracy. He defined democracy. I will tell all my Dalit section people, Ambedkar defined democracy where basic social transformation is possible without any kind of bloodshed and by peaceful means.
Let me bring in Mr. Aryaman Sundaram. Mr. Sundaram, thank you for giving us your time. My problem here is the fact that there are legal, there are judicial, there are democratic means to protest against an order if it makes one unhappy. Secondly, the fact that the government of India had already appealed this morning, and in spite of that, we saw the situation escalate so drastically through the course of the day. Is it a question of miscommunication, or do you believe that this was entirely being politicized?
Actually, Faye, you've come to the crux of the matter. You know, this is exactly what I wanted to elucidate on. The fact of the matter is, I don't think many people, and certainly not the people protesting today, really know what the judgment was all about. If you really look at the judgment, let me tell you in very basic terms what the judgment has done. Constitutionally, the rights of SCs and STs is protected, and that will always be done. Secondly, any kind of atrocities, insults to SCs or STs will be dealt with a very firm and iron hand. There's no problem on that. On the other hand, you must also realize that it's a very draconian statute which requires a person to be arrested without even an investigation going into the matter. What has really the Supreme Court done? It has not changed the offense. It has not watered down the offense. It has not changed the punishment. It has not watered down the punishment. All that the court has done is takes note that this act could be misused, while a person who is guilty of the offense should be brought to justice, should be incarcerated at his time. At the same time, all that they've said is follow a procedure and don't work with the knee-jerk reaction that the moment a complaint is made, without any investigation, just go arrest the man. I think that is equally unfair on the person being complained against, because that's taking away a basic right of his under Article 21. All that the court has really done is to say, look here, there could be a complaint. Let there be an investigation, prima facie, feel the complaint is made out, law will take its course, the man will be incarcerated, he'll be proceeded against, he'll be punished. But why is it so important that the moment a complaint is filed, nobody should even look into it, nobody should investigate, you should register the FIR, arrest the man. And tomorrow, look at it both ways. If, in fact, they did go into this prima facie inquiry and then find that the man has prima facie been guilty of the offense, they arrest him. He is going to be arrested. He is going to be punished. There's nothing irreparable. But on the other hand, without any kind of investigation, you arrest him straight away, put him in, it's irreparable. He's been incarcerated for no reason. All that the Supreme Court has done, and nothing more, all they've introduced is a procedure which is in keeping with human rights, which says, be satisfied prima facie that something has happened, and then go ahead, let law take its course. Now, unfortunately, the actual impact of this judgment, I think, is lost to everybody. The people who have their vested interests are saying the act has been diluted. It would also almost make a person who is an SC/ST feel that his protection has been taken away. And this is the impression they're being given, and that's just fanning all these flames. Actually, according to me, this is instigation by vested interests who, being in a position to know exactly what it means, and instead of, in fact, viewing it and explaining it for what it means, are trying to fan it up by using the words act is diluted, rights are taken away, protection is taken away, which is totally wrong.
Right.
And what you see today is a reaction, according to me, not to what the judgment says, but to the way that judgment is being used by vested interests to fan up these various kinds of reactions.
If I may, Mr. Sundaram.
And these reactions, whatever they are, protection is correct, license is wrong.
Right. If I may, Mr. Sundaram, I'm reading out of the government's appeal to the Supreme Court that was submitted this morning, and it says, while it's important to protect the rights of the accused under Article 21, as you pointed out, it would deserve to be considered that the protection of under Article 21 as well as Article 17, which is the abolition of untouchability of our Constitution, is equally available to the members of the SC and the ST. And it goes on to say that immense pain and injury gets caused when the commission of any kind of offence against the members of SC and ST under this would be a violation, the grossest violation of Article 17. So the government as well is arguing against the Supreme Court ruling. But let me bring in Sunil Kadam, who is an activist himself. Mr. Kadam, if you want to respond to what Mr. Sundaram said, that the protest...
Can I just clarify one thing there, Faye?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Sundaram.
May I just clarify one thing, Faye? It's only this. You're absolutely correct. The government says Article 21 can have reasonable restrictions, says Article 17 is there. But where is the Supreme Court not taken away Article 17? Where is the Supreme Court not recognized the reasonable restriction? All that the court says is, please go ahead, implement the act. But before you immediately react and arrest somebody, please be satisfied prima facie. Is the government saying really that merely because complaints are given, the government should just keep arresting everybody?
Okay, all right.
That merely because an accusation is made with no investigation, people should be arrested? I'm sure that can't be a correct stand of the government.
But Mr. Sunil Kadam will respond. Mr. Kadam, please respond.
Yeah, let me tell you, what he is saying is saying something very. Hello, has it stopped?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
This is just a half truth. It's all about the act. But let me tell you, hello.
Yes, please go
Can you
ahead,
hear
Mr.
me?
Kadam. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, Faye. Can you hear me? I'm not able to hear you. Hello.
All right, we'll go back to Mr. Kadam. Mr. Ram, do you want to respond to that? And here's the question. If before filing a complaint and before making an arrest, an officer is going to investigate an officer, then can we be sure of any sort of justice? Mr. N.D. Ram.
Definitely, there will be loss of justice, and if in this way the act will be implemented, then there will not be any use of this act, because now this act become the toothless. I am disagree with the respected advocate that the main power of the act is not withdrawn. I am not agree with that. I endorse the view of Mr. Mungekar that what he says, and because actually we have to go in the depth. It is only due to the caste system, and everybody knows what is the caste system, what is happening. We are living in India. Here Gandhi is also worshipped, and here Godse is also worshipped. So we are living in a contradiction. So we have to go in depth.
Right.
Here Ram is also worshipped, Ravan is also worshipped.
Mr. Ram,
So we have to go in depth.
Mr. Ram, आप मुझे एक चीज बताइए.
Go in depth, then there will not be any use.
Mr. Ram, आप मुझे एक चीज बताइए. आज सुबह गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट से अपील कर दी, एक बार सुबह अपील गई है, तो फिर उसके बाद ऐसे वायलेंट राइट की क्या जरूरत थी? सुप्रीम और बाकी आप गवर्नमेंट इससे ज्यादा क्या कर सकती है?
देखिए, वायलेंस के पक्ष में कोई नहीं है.
Shall I come in the discussion, madam?
वायलेंस के पक्ष में कोई भी नहीं है. किसी तरह का वायलेंस को ना हम लोग सह देते हैं, ना किसी तरह के वायलेंस के समर्थन में है. वायलेंस के पक्ष में कोई नहीं है. वायलेंस बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए. अगर जो वायलेंस कर रहे हैं वो बिल्कुल गलत कर रहे हैं और ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए. उसको मैं कंडेम करता हूं, वायलेंस को. लेकिन इसके साथ मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि जजमेंट कब आया और गवर्नमेंट आज रिव्यू पिटीशन फाइल करी है. व्हाई नॉट अर्लियर? गवर्नमेंट को पहले भी सोचना चाहिए कि गवर्नमेंट उसको रिव्यू पिटीशन डाले. दूसरी बात, बेसिक बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि जब ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट में था, उस समय जो हमारे SC ST के तरफ से जो हमारे जो एडवोकेट हैं, उनको क्यों नहीं वहां पे लगाया जाता है? इस तरह के जजमेंट क्यों आते हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट से? उसके पहले गवर्नमेंट को कॉशियस रहना चाहिए कि ये बहुत ही सेंसिटिव इशू है. मेरा ये बेसिक चीज कहना है कि व्हेनेवर एनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इश्यूज कम्स टू द नॉलेज ऑफ द ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट, देन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया शुड बी कॉशियस अबाउट दैट. क्योंकि ये हमारे सेंसिटिविटी का इशू है.
जी, वैभव अग्रवाल जवाब देंगे. वैभव अग्रवाल बीजेपी से है. वैभव जी,
रिजर्वेशन इशू है. रिजर्वेशन इज पेंडिंग इन ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट.
राइट. वैभव,
अभी तो उसका डेट नहीं लग रहा है.
जी, तो एक मिनट राम जी. वैभव, दिस इज द क्वेश्चन एंड इट्स अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन. इफ द गवर्नमेंट फंडामेंटली वांटेड टू अपील अगेंस्ट दिस ऑर्डर व्हिच केम इन ऑन द 20th of last month, why did you wait until today?
See, it's a excellent point. If we can, and there are two parts to this question. A, why did we wait? B, who represented the government? So you understand that senior advocate K.K. Venugopal and you know Arima is here. He knows what I'm talking and referring to.
K.K. Venugopal is the Attorney General,
ASG Maninder Singh, and of course Arima. Yeah, absolutely. But he represented the government, and then Maninder Singh, and Arima is here again. He knows what I'm talking about. So representation was not less, and of course there were 4 days of holidays. We would take at least 5 days to file a review petition, make it and file it. I mean, and the court opened today, and we filed it today in all our intentions. Where is the delay? Now, if we look at this, there is a lot of politics behind it. You see, the entire politics around this happened in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh primarily, and then Uttar Pradesh. And you also know, I'm sure you would know that an ex-BSP MLA got arrested today from Uttar Pradesh, you know, inciting the violence and caught in the middle of the act, right, on the camera. Now, having said that, I am not defending, I am not scrutinizing anyone, but I would like to bring in Congress's role in this. You know, in 2010...
actually, hang on, one second. Vaibhav Agarwal, there is no Congress and no opposition on this panel. It is purely a legal panel where we have retired police officers.
Mr. Balachandra says it's Congress on the panel.
Okay.
So Vaibhav Agarwal, is it possible for you to answer a question? Yes, 1 second. Vaibhav Agarwal, is it possible for you to answer the question without bringing up the Congress? Since all of the states you mentioned are BJP-run states, law and order is a BJP issue.
Here at all.
Yes. So answer it as the party in power. What happened today in these BJP-run states? Why weren't you able to keep the rioters under control? Whoever was inciting it, at the end of the day, the police runs the state, and you should have been able to control the situation. You cannot turn around at the end of the day and say 7 people died today because the Congress incited it. You have the power to shut it down. You should have shut it down. Why didn't you?
Yes, we agree, and we did not want to use the force, but you saw that your channel is playing visuals where the protesters are actually using forces against the forces who are trying to control and contaminate this. Now you have to understand both Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh are poll-bound states.
Just a minute.
And they're extremely... One moment, Mr. Kadam, 1 minute. And apart from going to the polls, we also have to understand that when these two states go for the polls, there will be a poll fight between the arch rivals, traditional arch rivals. And this is absolutely why the two states have been the center of the
I don't understand. Now, Vaibhav, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to bring in Dhanraj Vanjari here, who's a retired police officer. One second. Mr. Vanjari, on one hand, Vaibhav Agarwal tells us that this was politically motivated. On the other hand, he says he didn't want to bring in force. Now, if you think that this was a false protest, politically motivated, then why didn't you use the force?
His own statement is creating a political dilemma. So instead of going over there between Congress and BJP, let me tell certain facts which will make all of us, I am listening to all panelists since then, which will make believe all of us that there is certain reason to believe that the issue has been wrongly politicized in this country. And we are, in spite of going towards progressive democracy, we are going towards regressive nationalism. Let me tell you, on 23rd March 2017, the Supreme Court of India has denied to remove the provision, no provision of anticipatory bail, and there strengthen the Atrocity Act, reverting the decision given by Patna High Court. Now, almost after 1 year, what happened? The Supreme Court has turned down so many things under the notion of the data supplied by National Crime Bureau. But according to me, that is not a comprehensive, sustainable data. Because if that data is to be entertained, then Supreme Court was necessarily required to find out the incidents of the atrocities on Dalits all over the country, particularly to the states and all that, which shows that central government today has walked into the fray. But let me tell you, in original petition, to our surprise, central government is not a party. It is state of Maharashtra. Then why state of Maharashtra has slept or has not gone into the fray and saying, yes, we are doing it. The date was declared 2nd April for protest all over the India by all Dalit unions, and thereafter the government has gone over there. What basically it seems, as Mr. Sundaram will also address this point, that anticipatory bail's provision is not there. That's why we say that this act is draconic.
Yes.
1 minute, I'll finish. But if you see the stata and cases, my own experience I am sharing, under section 484 of CRPC, many of the victims who are wrongly being booked has gone to the High Court, and High Court has empowered them with so many relief. It's more than anticipatory bail. So let us view at the issue in a comprehensive manner, and you will find that somewhere something is going wrong. In this nation, the wrong politics being played under the name of politics.
I just want to ask you this one question, Mr. Manjari. If this sort of riot had begun this morning at around 10 a.m. and the police had actually done their job in all of these various cities, would we have lost 7 people?
No,
Could the police have shut it
not
down?
have lost, because I will say, though I am a police officer, I will not defend my people on a wrong notion. They failed somewhere in collecting the advance information, because I see in the riot there are guns being used. Yes. There is some provocation, and as you very rightly in the opening remark has said, that as if it was a time-bound data, the working data, it has started by 10 o'clock and ended at 6 o'clock. All these issues need to be in-depth inquired into.
All right. Mr. Sunil Kadam's audio is now fixed. Sunil Kadam, I apologize for earlier not being able to get you. Go ahead, Sunil Kadam. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you. Let me correct some. Let me correct some facts. You know, the facts are being distorted by Mr. Agrawal. The first thing, he is trying to politicize that. Let me tell you, this call was by non-political people. It was by Dalits. It was by activists who are not politically motivated. That's the first thing. Initially, when it was initiated, this was initiated in the morning. It was very calm and peaceful protest. Only the slogans were raised. But let me tell you what happened eventually after in the afternoon. The things, you know, in some places in Rajasthan, Karnik Sena people and Bajrang Dal people, they starting beating the protesters. Second thing, there is an incident where there is a Dinesh Thakur and his wife. He started pelting stones from their rooftops of their houses. Second thing, even police started beating the protesters, and there was a person who was brandishing a pistol. He is from Gwalior. He is Raja. I know his name. He is Raja Chauhan. He is a BJP supporter. He is a BJP supporter, a Bajrang Dal supporter. Now, when the protest was so peaceful, when it was going, it was only raising the slogans. These people tried to instigate them, and then their violence broke out. So and later on, these BJP people, they are trying to politicize. There was no political party who had come here and who was trying to politicize, but only BJP.
Right.
That's
I'm
one
opening
thing.
up the panel.
Let me
now.
tell you.
Yes.
And Arya Sundaram, what we was talking about, he told something. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Arya, you wanted to say something about Arya Sundaram. Go.
I'm
Arya
sorry?
Sundaram. Go ahead. Mr.
Then
Kadam,
there
go ahead.
was even in Gorakhpur. Let me tell you one fact from Gorakhpur. Gorakhpur also same thing had happened. It's a as you all know, it's a place of CM. Chief Minister. In Gorakhpur also, people were beaten, and the protesters were beaten unnecessarily by the police. So police was used, and this happened only where BJP is ruling. That is Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and UP. But other places, there was, this kind of a pandemonium or this kind of a violence was not there. So please do not spread the canards that protesters were engaging in this violence.
Okay.
But these protesters were just retaliating whatever was happening to them.
May I come in, Faye?
All right, let's open this up right now. I'm going to open up the panel. Mr. Balchandra Mungikar had something to say. Mr. Mungikar, you first, and then Vaibhav Agarwal. Go ahead.
There are 2 or 3 things I will mention. One is that the issue of politicization, an issue of the vested interest that Mr. Agarwal I think was talking about. Issue of vested interest is absolutely irrelevant so far this discussion is concerned. See, let me tell you one thing. So far the National Crime Bureau records are concerned, the latest report shows that 2014, 15 and 16, 1,19,000 crimes and atrocities have taken place in the country. And unfortunately, the states which are now talking about and where the protesters were provoked to take into the violence, the government, Home Ministry data show that 64% of this 1.19 lakh atrocities and crimes, 64% were in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, UP and Bihar. Now second point, Dalit people would not have taken out this morcha, okay? Had government, I understand the government filed petition today. The judgment was given on 20th of March. That's why there is a gap of around 13 days. I fully understand there were holidays, Sundays, etc. Why government did not make its intention clear immediately within 2 days, 23rd, 22nd, that we are going to review the case? Third, I have carefully read the entire judgment. I have carefully read the argument led by my close learned
Venugopal, done 8 days
and
back.
The argument made by Venugopal
was
grossly inadequate. Please don't disturb. The arguments were made by Mr. Venugopal. They were grossly inadequate. And the fourth, my major anguish against the judiciary is with all regard to the judiciary. You know what judiciary said in the argument? Judiciary cannot remain silent spectator to the innocent peoples are victimized when the false cases are there. Out of 56,000 cases in 2016, 5,440 they are false. That is 9.5%. Now I am of the view that when the act is in present form, then you are about 56,000 cases of atrocities are taking every place. Then when there is no protection, when the protection is withdrawn, it will happen. It will create chaos.
Okay.
So my point is, I make my argument clear. Whatever the number of atrocities,
that's the problem.
One last point. I would not tolerate even one. Please don't disturb.
You've taken your time. I think.
I would not tolerate even one false case filed by the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe against the upper caste for any extraneous consideration.
Right, Vaibhav Agarwal, let me ask you this. Vaibhav Agarwal, let me ask you this. In the last several months on this show, these are the various protests that you have called politically motivated by the Congress. The SC scam, JNU, Dalits, farmers. I don't know, CBSE, the leak, should we blame that on the Congress as well?
Well, I will not fall short of saying that, but it's only the investigation that will come back.
Out of power.
One at a time, please, gentlemen. Go ahead, Vaibhav Agarwal.
Yeah. So you know, I don't know what's Mr. Balachandra's background, but
he's a member of parliament. He was a former member of parliament. I'll tell you his background. He's a former member of the Rajya Sabha. That's his background.
I wonder what party would he have?
Okay, hang on, gentlemen. Let me stop you there. Mr. Agarwal, let me stop you there. Mr. Agarwal, you know the rules of this show. This is not one of those shows. 1 second, Mr. Balchandra. This is not one of those shows. Every member of my panel is invited here because of the experience they bring in and their qualifications. There is nobody on my panel ever who does not have the explicit right to be here because they're qualified to comment. So I do not allow my panelists to insult each other in this manner. You want to rebut something he has said? That is your right. Please go ahead and do so.
Thank you.
I don't have the time for this sort of comment, Mr. Agarwal. You know that. Now, do you want to respond to him? I will give you another chance to do that. Go ahead.
I'll be decent. I'll be a good boy.
Yes. I'd be grateful.
Yeah. So let me bring this forth. It is, I don't know, I don't know if the act has been read before making the comment, but I would, you know, allow me to speak, ex-member of parliament, please. we were patient to hear you. Now, Section 18 of the Act has been notified by the Supreme Court, which talks of anticipatory bail, which talks of the rights to the complainant or to the defense side under Section 41A of the CRPC, which was amended by the Congress in 2010, which squarely covers the 7-year and the 10-year imprisonment rule. I mean, C.S. Sundaram is sitting here. There is no one better on this panel to comment on this. However, the government is still of the view that the judgment of the Supreme Court has some errors in it, and it has nothing to do with
the
any
government
removal of.
Government is going for the review petition.
Let me take that. Let me take that stand.
Going discussion in the Congress at all.
You know, why don't you?
It is irrelevant. No, can you tell me why 64% cases are in Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and UP?
Why don't you guys? No. Why don't you guys speak?
Let me break this up. Let me ask the questions again, gentlemen. Let me ask the questions again. One second. Let me ask the questions again.
You know, when you guys want to crucify the government, then there is no point me sitting on the panel.
No, hang on. So there are some questions to be asked here. Point number one. Point number one, point number one is that the government has appealed to the Supreme Court. One second, Mr. Kadam, the government has appealed to the Supreme Court. We had the Law Minister and the Home Minister come out today and appeal for peace very clearly. What more do we want the government to do? That's one question. On the other hand, the other question is this. The judgment from the Supreme Court came in on the 20th of last month. 6 working days, 5 holidays, and the government waited till today to put the petition, the appeal in. Why did it take so long? Secondly, if you knew, and this was not new, we knew that there was an All India Bandh being called today. Why wasn't there better police bandobast? Why didn't you keep this situation under control? The truth is, the government and the opposition put ghee in a fire that had already started off. And now you're sitting around and blaming each other, whereas ordinary citizens were inconvenienced today. There was loss to public and private property, and 7 people are dead. You cannot bring them back. 7 people are dead. I hope the political gain was worth it for whoever was gaining.
That's not our responsibility. Jignesh Mevani should be on the show, and the ex-BSP MLA should be on the show. I would like to understand if this was not a political issue to put the BJP in the bad light, if this was not an issue which does not talk of any protection removal, so-called protection removal from the entire POA Act, then what was the protest all about? Why was the country burning just like the office time? Why was Jignesh Mevani sitting across every other media channel and standing in the field trying to incite violence? If this was not political, if this was activist, Sunil Kadam does not have an information correct. You know, he's completely blaming the...
It is not a political. Since you are in charge of the state of governance, these questions are naturally coming to you and you are supposed to answer it. But not antagonizing the position of another political party, which is totally irrelevant, and you will be distracting the discussion.
I have a question for Arima Sundaram here.
The panel is irrelevant then, if it has to be skewed.
It's not skewed at all. In fact, let me go back to Mr. Arima Sundaram.
Absolutely.
How is it skewed?
Today the violators were absolutely fair. I need to make this point. The violators today were absolutely in violation of their own Baba Sahib Ambedkar's 3 principles, which is fraternity, equality and liberty. Fraternity is bhaichara. Where is the emotion in the entire thing? Can Sunil Kadam or Mr. Balachandra answer my question?
No. You're missing the point. You're missing the point of the discussion. Vaibhav Agarwal. Let's not get emotional. It's what got us into this mess to begin with. Let's not get emotional. Vaibhav Agarwal, if you're telling me that this was a politically motivated protest, then nobody was missing Mr. Ambedkar, Dr. Ambedkar, because this was not about Dr. Ambedkar. But I want you gentlemen to calm down while I go to Mr. Sundaram. Calm down.
Mr. Agarwal.
One second.
We didn't came here to discuss about the party.
Yes.
We didn't came here to discuss about the party.
One second.
There should not be any discussion about the party.
Everybody calm down. Take a breath. Mr. Ram, I'll come to you. My question is to Mr. Sundaram. Mr. Sundaram, my question is this. We have Vaibhav Agarwal here saying that, gentlemen, we have Vaibhav Agarwal here telling us that various political parties incited, Jignesh Mevani should be questioned, the Congress should be questioned, which is fair. We'll question all of these people through the course of the day. But law and order is a state subject.
In fact, BJP should be questioned.
I want to know how the situation got this bad. We can't constantly turn around on a regular basis and say the farmers are protesting and causing trouble because somebody's instigating them. The JNU students are being instigated. The Dalits are being instigated. Those protesting against staff selection are being instigated. At this rate, every opposition party is running this country instead of the party that should be running this country. Where is the government and why aren't you able to maintain law and order is my question. Mr. Sundaram.
Well, Faye, I think the answer is in your question. The fact of the matter is that all these agitations you're talking about, many of them, they start with a bit of unrest among certain people, and then that unrest is fanned. It's fanned by people with vested interests in it. You know, just take that example of the farmers who marched from Nasik to Mumbai. I think it was amazing. It was amazing that they were going for a cause. They marched peacefully. They put forward their cause. They got their demands met and went back. Why? Because nobody either got into the act to fan up flames and to create a scene out of it, or those farmers were sensible enough not to allow anybody else to interfere there. The fact of it is the culpability arises from all those who will have their own vested interests in it. But coupled with that is also the duty of the state to maintain law and order. The state has one of two answers today. One, they can say that they were incapable of maintaining the law and order because the outcry was so great. It was so great against them, in which case it militates against the argument that it was politically motivated. Or the state can say that, look, they felt all these people had a right to protest and they were willing to allow them to protest. Either I don't think the state can answer to, because the ruling party unfortunately always wears two hats. One, it wears the hat as a party. The other, it wears a hat as a government. Its party philosophy may be one, but as a government which is in governance, it has a duty, other duties to maintain law and order. Often there's a clash between the two, which is why you find a failure of the law and order machinery. And unfortunately, this is a reality of our governance in this country. And it is not the BJP alone I would say this to. On the contrary, other governments in the past, other governments which are ruling states have equally fallen prey to the same thing. And it all comes from that. But let's not escape from one thing. When I hear protests about how the act has been diluted, I'm afraid that I keep hearing stories which don't exist. The man who is protesting then, who's asked to protest, is being told that all his rights, all his protections have been taken away. I don't know whether he really has been told what it's come down to really. That all that's been said is if he gives a complaint, they'll investigate into it, find it's correct, and the man will be punished the same way. I don't think that's so at all, because I haven't heard one person complaining against the judgment saying that. Everybody says, oh, the act has been diluted, protection has gone, Article 17, Constitution, the protection given to the SCs and STs being taken away. Well, that is what I mean by totally misinterpreting a judicial pronouncement for your own political purposes, your own vested interests. And that's what I think has happened today.
Ram Kadam, is that true that there's been no, Mr. Sunil Kadam, I'm sorry, Mr. Sunil Kadam, there's been no clear communication to the people who are protesting on what they're protesting about. And that is a big problem.
See, since government has gone for the review petition, whatever Arya Sundaram is saying is all futile. That's a futile exercise. Government has already gone for review. First thing what I want to say is, the BJP people are saying this is political thing. Let me tell you, there is unrest among unemployed youth. There is unrest among students. There is unrest among farmers. There is unrest among traders. There is unrest among common people because of the petrol rise and
saying
many
that
things.
You burnt the country and made property loss. Will you apologize first?
For what?
Before blaming us, will you apologize first?
There was a peaceful and calm protest. There was a peaceful and calm protest, and they were provoked.
That's
they were
correct.
provoked by
Yeah,
BJP
absolutely.
people.
That's
So
why
it's
7
you,
people died,
it's the
and
government,
that's why so
and
many
it's the
burnings
BJP
happened,
who has to
and that's
apologize,
why
not
there
the
were
Dalits.
guns-wielding people who were shooting at the
Mr.
forces,
Agrawal,
BJP forces who were protecting
BJP
them.
and the government,
Very unfortunate.
Government
Sunil
in
Kadam.
Madhya Pradesh, government in Rajasthan, government in
Very
Rajasthan,
unfortunate.
government in UP, Uttar Pradesh. They have
You're
to
absolutely
apologize,
representing
and not the
politically
Dalits.
vested
They were
interests
provoked.
right
They were
now.
provoked by the
Look at the way you
Dalits.
present
They were
your
provoked by-
hang on.
they were
You
provoked
can't
by
be an
Bajrang
activist.
Dal.
You're
One
acting
second,
not
stop. No,
politically
stop
motivated.
yelling at each other. This is
What
not
you're
one of
saying is
those shows,
insensitive.
gentlemen. You
What
you
you're
must
saying is
understand.
insensitive.
The audience
Mr.
cannot
Agrawal,
understand you
this
when
is
you
an
talk at the same
insensitive
time.
sentence. This is insensitive utterance that it is political. When you politicize that, you are behaving like a insensitive person.
Well, let's
Your
actually
government
if you're
in
going down
different
that
states
if you're
have been
going
very
out down that
insensitive.
route,
Let me
Vaibhav
tell you
Agarwal, I'm just going to boil this down to 2 questions.
So
One
don't
second,
be insensitive.
Vaibhav Agarwal, let's address.
Don't be insensitive.
Okay, Mr. Kadam, let's address. One second, Mr. Kadam, calm down.
I'm reiterating and I'm saying again and
Right.
again.
All right.
The protest was calm and peaceful.
Fair
They
enough.
were just
All right.
raising
I
the slogans.
have.
And these are the people, Karni Sena, Bajrang Dal people, and all these people. They
With this,
provoked-
where's your proof,
they
Mr.
provoked
Kadam?
the protesters.
No, you
Why were
have
they
no
doing it?
proof. You have no
They
proof
wanted
for that.
this to happen.
Okay.
Mr. Agrawal, so mind you, don't be very sensitive.
All right, I have a question for Vaibhav Agarwal. Vaibhav Agarwal, I'm holding up the
It is
NCRB
absolutely caste
data.
politics that you're trying to play.
Gentlemen,
Yes, Faye.
can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. I am holding up the NCRB data on crime against Dalits in India. It has gone up from 33,000 incidents back in 2011 to 39,000 incidents in 2013, up to 40,801 in 2016, which is the last count. Vaibhav Agarwal, would it then be merit to ask a question of why these incidents of crime have been on the rise over the last several years?
I think this is absolutely, this cannot be attributed to the government in power. This cannot be attributed to the and remember, in one of the debates I did mention a phrase. It is not a war between the countries. It is a war between the people that is going on, and that's what caste politics is all about in the country. And that is why there is Janev Dharu leader in one side, and then there is people like Jignesh Mevani who talk in English, who study in convent schools, but still want to bear a certain tag on themselves. And then the community would like to, the society
Very
at large, when they go at war with each other, they would like to beat around the 3 principles of the, 3 principles of Baba Saheb himself, which is equality, liberty, and fraternity. Fraternity is
I believe that
bhaichara
was
in real
principles
sense.
of our constitution
I'm very
also.
surprised.
But
And
Vaibhav
this
Agarwal,
cannot be
there are
attributed
some
to the government
things.
at all times.
There are some things
this
that
is
the
what you're
government of the
destroying.
day must take responsibility
Agrawal,
for.
this is what
Law
you're
and order is undoubtedly one of those. But I have a question for Mr. Balchandra. I'll come to you last though. I have a question for Mr. Balchandra. Balchandraji,
I have
the
an answer for
Congress
that also.
and the
May I answer
BSP.
that?
One second. I gave you your chance to answer.
Faye,
Mr. Balchandra, the Congress and the BSP came out today and had immediate press conferences as soon as there were riots in the country. Now, I would accuse you of throwing petrol on the problem, but petrol has become very, very expensive today. So let's say you're throwing ghee because it's possibly cheaper at this point. Weren't you making matters worse?
See, my question is, I totally discount and reject the argument of Mr. Agrawal and Mr. Sundaram. Absolutely. Even when I mentioned that the 64 cases of the 64% atrocities have taken place in, according to their data, that is in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar and UP, I did not mention by BJP at that point of time. I made a secular statement that these are the 4 states. Congress and BJP made the immediate statement after the judgment came. 21st March itself they had made the statement that government must review this. Now I want to ask Mr. Agrawal and Mr. Sundaram, both of them, they are emphasizing that this protection and the etc. etc. Why, Mr. Agrawal and Mr. Sundaram, you don't feel it is shameful for the country after 70 years of independence that 2,540 scheduled caste and scheduled caste women alone, they were raped in 2016? You are bullshitting the entire discussion. I am extremely sorry to say this. You are talking of vested interest. Whose vested interest you are talking about? When Dalit community coming to the street, I discount the violence altogether.
You are talking
when
rubbish.
Dalit community anguish
Watch your language.
coming to the street again. Please remain. Please, I don't provoke me. Please don't provoke me. With Dalit community, whose interest you are talking about, and who wanted to know my social background?
No. If you can get provoked, then you cannot be a parliamentary person. Please use parliamentary language.
What do you mean by social background? You just tell me why you wanted to know my background. My background, an academician.
Of course, you are talking about removal of protection.
All right. I have run out of time, but it's unfortunately this, viewers. It's unfortunately this. I want to thank the rest of my panel for being part of this conversation, but we've run out of time, and this is the problem. The people who run our country are seeing political gain. Every single politician in the country, every single political party is seeing a potential and a political gain from the burning buses, from the exams that are cancelled, from the traffic jams, the 7 people who died today. It was a massive mess caused by lack of communication, our law and order machinery sitting back and letting all of this play out without shutting it down. We have had police officer after police officer, retired, very senior, come into our studios over the last several months during every riot and tell us that no riot happens without the law and order machinery knowing about it, and they all have the power to shut it down. What was going wrong today? What happened today? How many different political parties were fanning this fire? And most importantly, who burned? With every passing day, we reach further and further down this rabbit hole where every part of this country hates the other part of it. Every part mistrusts the other part, and every part wants to shut down somebody else. If we are going to talk about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, remember he designed a constitution that gave us all equal rights. We are all equal in the eyes of the law. Why then do we allow somebody or the other to tear us apart based on our caste, based on our religion, based on our gender and our sexual preferences? Our students are unhappy, our farmers are unhappy, our Dalits are unhappy, the women are unhappy. How much longer is this going to continue? At some point, we have to stop allowing political parties this kind of control over our lives. Thanks for watching.